Well, as the weekend's begun, as you know, it gets chaotic. For today, as you know, in Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling has started the new beginning in Nagoya. We only have three championship matches that are put on the line. The KOPW title is defended in a 10-minute fit ring match. So Taiji Shimori made the stipulation against, of course, the Great Khan, who's been desiring this belt for a long time. And then, of course, we got the never open weight tag team titles defended. Hikuleo and El Fantasmo faced off their former teammates, Chase Owens and Kenta. And then finally, the never open weight title is defended. Tamatanga defends it against Evil, who feels that Tamatanga needs to go, and all this and that. And of course, we move on with Major League Wrestling. It's back. We have some interesting matches that took place that I think is going to be fun. Of course, we have the Tokyo Pro Wrestlers making their appearance for this showcase match and other cool things as well. And then we move on with AEW Collision with some interesting matches taking place. We do have, of course, Daniel Garcia taking on Buddy Matthews. Eddie Kingston teams up with Ortiz to take on the members of the BCC and various other match. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing Gatoh Move's latest show that took place back on January 10th, To the Future, which features five matches. But the Super Asia Championship is defended in a three-way match. Originally, there were plans for that match, but due to some circumstances, they were changed. So, and also, there is no news updates for this particular episode, just letting you guys know. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Lead It Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos involving topics such as the wrestlers themselves, promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to get our hands on. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do more cool stuff on this channel as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool features on this channel as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, let's begin with our very first review, and this is from Gatoh Move and Misakura's promotion. This one is called To the Future, and this took place back on January 10th in Shinkiba. And we have Tokiko Kihara, Antonio Honda versus Mochi Natsumi, Chonchiru, and Sayaka and Minoru Fujita. So we have a three-way tag team match. So anything could happen. But however, when it comes to tag teams, we know that Antonio Honda and Tokiko like to pull off their usual tricks on their opponents. However, there are moments where they're backfire. Well, that kind of played out pretty well when Minoru Fujita and Sayaka they double pin on Tokyo Kahara, giving them the win. So I thought, not bad right there. Next match, we have tag team action. We got Gaia Hawks teaming up with Shuji Katsumura. They take on Masahiro Takanashi and Harashima. Yes, guys, the same Harashima from DDT Pro Wrestling. And of course, Katsumura You may have seen them in Gambari Pro, so it's interesting to see them too. So I wasn't too sure how this one was going to play it out as well, but it was a pretty good showing from what it is. Two different styles, but in the end, we saw it was Hiroshima with a somewhat of a running Meteora onto Gaia Ox, giving them the win. And I'm sure that it was a very impressive match to watch. And next one we have is a tag team match. We have Hagane Shino. He teams up with our very first AEW Women's Champion. We're talking about Riho. They take on Sayaka Obihiro and Hiragi Kurumi. Now, it's interesting to see Hagane and Riho team up. I cannot recall if they ever teamed up, but I may have to look on the Gatoh Move YouTube channel because there's a lot of matches. I mean, I have talked about some of her matches she did on the podcast. If you guys don't have me on the podcast, look for me on the Spotify, and that is of course DWZ podcast with J Rock. So I talk a little bit about Riho in some previous episodes, but you should check them out. But right now, their opponents, they're a bit more bigger and different. But don't forget, Sayaka and Riho, they're both were trained by the same person, Emi Sakura. So that kind of plays out. But however, Obihiro suffered the fate of the running running Meteora by Riho to pick up the win. So it's interesting to see her now returning to the promotion where she was the ace, and now she's there for this particular day. Our next match, well, this one is a very interesting one. Miyu Amasaki taking on Mei Shruga. Now, I'm sure this was a very interesting match. Now, I know many people have been calling Amasaki in the past Kevin. I don't know why. But, however, I have to say, very good outing from Amasaki. But for some odd reason, she decided to be all cute and Mei Shruga actually joined in the party. And then they decided to show it off to Azumi, who was right there as Miyu Amasaki's second. I don't know what was the purpose, but I should have known that Mei Shruga was going to play something a little bit tad dirty to her, but it did. But it kind of worked out as well. But unfortunately, it was Mei Shruga with a submission, and it sealed the deal for her as well. Now, our next match is our main event. It's for the Super Asia Championship. We have the challengers, Balanaki versus Masato Tanaka versus Emi Sakura. Now, originally this was supposed to be Miya Yatsuba, but due to some circumstances that took place in the Joko Pro show, she injured herself. But nothing too serious, but they want to make sure she's okay until the next time they meet. So I don't know when will that happen, but I'm sure it will happen at some point. But nonetheless, the match was pretty good. Not gonna lie, I mean, Masato Tanaka, a legend in the wrestling community. I'm sure his size would have been a big factor, but no, it did not. But it was Balanaki who took out Tanaka, but it was Emi Sakura with the Mahistral that picked up the win to retain the title. But she also did point it out that in the promo, that post match promo about Minoru Fujita, like she's been running from him for a long time, but I'm not sure if she's going to put her title on the line against him. We know he was a former champion, but we will see what happens down the line. Now, during the after show, this is when, of course, everybody breaks character. They made some, Emi Sakura made some interesting announcements. It turns out for 2023, 3 shows have been signed off. The first one will take place at the Itabashi Green Hall on February 13th. So no information just yet, but if we watch the Choker Pro shows, they will be announced. And the next one will take place on May 30th in Shinjuku FACE, which also has been dubbed as Mei Shruga's birthday. So I'm sure this is a very, very great timing for them. However, the third match, this one is the big one that they announced. They said for the first time in 8 years, Gatoh Moves returns um, to Korakuen Hall on May 3rd, and everybody was happy to hear that they're heading back to Korakuen Hall. It's been nearly 8 years. I don't know what happened then, but it was great. Now we know that they had shows in Shinkiba and Shinjuku FACE in the past at the Itabashi Green Hall. But going back to Corrigan Hall, that's going to be interesting. Now, of course, Emi Sakura mentioned that she already made the sign of approval and stamp on this particular venue, and that's great news to hear. Can't wait to see what they're going to do for that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of work they're going to have to do for this one. So, no announcements yet for these three Got to Move shows, but I'm sure we'll pay attention. Now, as currently as we speak, we know that Emi Sakura, Mei Struga, along with Balian are back in. They're in Balian home country of India. Know yet when they'll be back, but I'm sure we'll all anticipate to see more Choco Pro shows, and of course the upcoming Got to Move shows as well. So if you guys haven't seen none of the Choco Pro or the Got to Move shows, go on their YouTube channel, go to Gatoh Move Pro Wrestling, and boom, there it is. So I think that's pretty much it for this one. Let's move on to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling with the New Year, New Beginning in Nagoya. This took place just today as we speak. It opened up with a couple of new young lions making the place. We did see Katsuya Murashima making his debut not too long ago. He takes on Shoma Kato. Now, not much about these guys I've been aware of, but we know they are currently in the dojo system, learning from whoever's training them, and yada, yada, yada. Now, one thing that is for certain, this is a very important match. Now, none of these guys would want to walk out as a time limit draw, which is embarrassing, not good for the record. But however, they're determined to pick up a win against each other. But unfortunately, which is the worst fear for them, this match ended in a time limit draw after 10 minutes. So sooner or later, they will go back to this match, but one of them has to walk out as the victor. Our next match, we have Tomoaki Hamna and Shota Umino taking on the members of House of Black, consisting of Yujiro Takahashi and Ren Narita. Now, of course, when it comes to House of Torture, they're going to play some shenanigans, as they always do. But however, Yujiro whacked Tomoaki Hamna with the chair, and Ren Narita used a double cross on Hamna. But sooner or later, Ren Narita will get his hand. Shota Umino will get his hands on Ren Narita for what he has caused. Next up, we have the United Empire. Calvin Newman, Francisco Cara, TJP, and RA and Jeff Cobb takes on the Bullet Club War Dogs, consisting of Drilla Maloney, Clark Connors, Gabe Kidd, Alex Conglin, and of course, David Finlay. Now, don't forget, David Finlay is determined to once again to destroy Will Ospreay, who's trying to tell him that he needs to leave and this is his time, that this is his turf, that he is done for. However, much like any other type of match, it was Finlay who was able to pick up the win by applying a power bomb onto Newman to pick up the win. However, as soon as the match was over, the War Dogs, like pack of wolves, decided to attack Newman, but the remaining members of, of the United Empire were not having it. So they will cross paths later on some point. As you know, they have a date with Destiny in a steel cage match, where of course Finlay believes that this will be the final uh, nail to the coffin to Will Ospreay. But we'll see what happens from here on out. Now, speaking of the House of Torture, as you know, Narita and Yujiro already picked up their first win for the House of Torture. The other members, more consistently, Sho and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Now, they face against Master Wato and Desperado. Now, keep in mind, Wato went to back on Wrestle Kingdom, asked for a title shot against Desperado, but however, Sho, who's determined to have this, they decide to stop him because they want to be the first one to crack at it. But however, Despy knows he can trust Wato no matter what, because even though they don't like each other, but they do count at each other to watch each other's backs no matter what. And don't forget, Despy does have some history towards Kanemaru, As you know, they were former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions a number of years ago. But however, this particular match, much like any other House of Torture tactic, the Kanemaru used the whiskey onto Wato, sprayed on his eyes. But however, it was the shock arrow by Sho to pick up the win. But of course, just like any other tactic, here we go again with the House of Torture. But sooner or later, there's going to be something to change from there. Now, our next match, we have TMDK, Kosta Fujita, Shane Haste, Maki Nichols, and Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Togi Makabe, Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Kazuchika Okada. Now, keep in mind, Okada is nearly the end of his career with New Japan Pro Wrestling, so this is a very important timing. But however, it's also important to know, as you know, Kosa Fujita laid down the challenge against the members of Ishii, Tanahashi, and Okada for the never openweight six-man tag team title. So this is something that they now long desired. But however, this was a build-up momentum for TMDK because it was Zack Sabre Jr. who submitted Togi Makabe to pick up the win. But sooner or later, we will have that never openweight six-man tag team titles taking place as soon as we hear something. So we'll find out. Now, our next match, we have just 5 guys: Taka Michinoku, Doiki, Yuya Uemura, Taichi, and Sanada taking on LIJ's Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, Yota Tsuji, Shingo Takagi, and Tetsuya Naito. Now, keep in mind, Naito will give an opportunity to Sanada for a title match. Now, keep in mind, the reason this has happened is because Sanada saved them from Evil, who's determined to take this title from Naito and ruin the roll call. So basically, it was more like he owed him a favor. So, however, how would this played out? Keep in mind, we do see, of course, people would like to see another rematch between Tsuji and Uemura, but we don't know when will that happen. But in the end of this match, it was Sanada with the skull end onto Bushi that pick up the win. Now our first title match is the KOPW 10-minute title match in a 10-minute fit ring match. So basically, they got to do something in 10 minutes if they can last that long. And it was a real wacky one, but for some way, Great Khan won this one and becoming the new KOPW champion. So I know he has chased this title before, but he never got to it. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what kind of champion he will be. Now our next match is the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team titles. We have the challengers, Bullet Club, Chase Owens, and Kenta taking on Hikuleo and El Fantasmo, God. Now keep in mind, these two teams do have some histories. Don't forget, Hikuleo and El Fantasmo used to be members of the Bullet Club. So basically, that kind of plays out pretty well. But don't forget, El Fantasmo's kryptonite is Kenta. As you know, he and Kenta were very close until Kenta decided to turn against them when, of course, the whole thing with David Finlay causing the problem. So basically, El Fantasma was attempting to do the coup d'etat, but it did not work. But now we're seeing the success of Fantasma. So now they want to cut that success in half and short. But however, nothing stopped God no matter what they try to do. No matter what the Bullet Club were trying, they know exactly what the kind of people they were. But it was the God sent onto Kenta, but it was the CR2 by Phantasmo that picked up the win and retained the title. So we'll see what else happens for our double champions in the tag team division. Now our next match is the never openweight championship, Evil versus Tama Tonga. Now, of course, we were going to see the tactics with the House of Torture. They got involved. Now, this was done out of discretion of Red Shoes, but for some reason, this match could not go on, so the match went into a no contest. But, however, Tama was not going to let this one slide, so he's saying, you got your people there, I got mine. So they turned this into a lumberjack match. Now, Evil does have some history with it because last time he thought he could win the IWGP title in a lumberjack. Well, this time he thought this was going to be in his favor. However, it kind of did. Once again, Narita with that little board thing that Shibata had, using on Tama, and then everything is Evil. Of course, Evil is laughing his butt off, telling him, "Bye, Tama." But however, it was Tama Tonga who gets the last stand, the biggest ovation in history. So yes, so we're all gonna be saddened, but I know many people, especially the WWE loyalists, are hoping that he will get to WWE. That is something that we know there's been talked about, but we still don't know much about what's gonna happen from here on out. So we'll see what happens until then. So right now, let's move on with MLW ReLoad. Okay, MLW with a brand new show, ReLoad. It opened up with MLL's Mr. Saint Laurent. Now, as you know, he's trying to prove that the World Time Federation are the true meaning of what pro wrestling is, sports entertainment. But all of a sudden, he has been trying to get now Alex Kane to be part of that group. As you know, without the MLW World Heavyweight title, they cannot be at the top of the food chain as long as Bumaye Fight Club are now the ones, how do you say, are in control. However, that wasn't going to stop MSL for what he's going to do. Now, one of his clients, Zeta, takes on Notorious Mimi. So it was a pretty good match. How it's going to be, I mean, showing what she can do. However, she did put up the Unprettier as a way to finish off the match. Now, during the post match promo, Zeta wants right now the title shot against Janai Kai for the MLW Women's Featherweight title. But however, St. Laurent is not too sure if that's the right move to do due to the fact that he and Selena De La Renta are tight. So that's pretty much what's happening. But of course, Zeta's not happy with that decision, but she wants that title no matter what. Now, it was announced that next month on February 3rd, El Príncipe de la Plata, or the Prince of Platinum, Mystico will be making his MLW debut, and he faces one of Selena Del Renta's people, Alverno. So that's going to be something interesting to watch. Our next match, we have Steph Delanders versus Mass Brother 3. Man, there were some moments like, okay, like she believes that Mass Brother 3 is Mance Warner, and they tried to much what Steph Delander did to Mance Warner last time. Let's just say, got you. So basically, it's like, we're even. And that's exactly what he did. So he picked up the win just by doing that on her by a pinfall. And I think Steph Delander did not expect that one way or the other. Now, it appears that Akira is not too pleased how things have gone. Apparently, since he was attacked by Sam McCallum, it appears nothing has changed for him one way or the other. So he will get his hands on RSP and Sammy Callahan, who is now, I think, Mace, possibly the new leader of of the Calling. Our next match, we have Jimmy Lloyd taking on Ichiban, but however, Selena De La Renta, who's been dealing with Ichiban for quite some time, ever since Rocky Romero won the MLW middleweight title. Ichiban has been itching to get his hands on that belt for quite some time, but Selena doesn't see that he has the right to do so. But however, this match actually proved wrong when Ichiban did an avalanche Ichiban time onto Jimmy Lloyd to pick up the win. I'm sure this is not what she wants, but it is what's going to happen. Now, our next match, we have the girls from Tokyo Show Pro Wrestling, more specifically Moka Miyamoto and Nao Kakuta. Of course, Moka Miyamoto has been unsuccessful in defeating Nao Kakuta for quite some time. due to the fact that now Kakuta has better experience than her. Not to mention, now Kakuta is a former tag team champion along with Hikari Noah. But however, it was like a backpack stunner by Naokakuta to pick up the win on Moka Miyamoto. But however, as soon as the match was over, we just saw Love Doug made his presence, and he was impressed by her, saying that she was really brave to take on someone like Naokakuta, and he invited her out to dinner. Well, Max Striker being such a negative, the entire fan base are like, yes, yes. So she said, hi, which means yes. But it makes me wonder what Becca's gonna think of it since she's been ignoring him for quite some time. I'm sure she's not gonna like it, but we'll see how this storyline plays out pretty well. Now, anyway, we have Tiara James taking on Delmi Exo. Not to mention, as you know, Tiara James has been one of those impressive wrestlers we have been seeing since she arrived in MLW. But however, the former champion Delmi Exo, who's been want to take back what was taken from her, which is the women's featherweight title, was able to pick up a win by a roll up. But however, she is demanding to get a match for that title, and Janai Kai was not going to take that happen. Even Zeta did the same thing. But however, Selena De La Renta, in fact, tried to punch Zeta, but all of a sudden, she punched Saint Laurent and all this. So basically, all hell broke loose. Now, the moment Delmi Exo wasn't planning to leave, she bumps into the Azteca henchmen. Recently, we did see them. They handed her an envelope. We don't know what the content of the envelope was all about, but we do see in this moment where one of them hands over a key that's been familiarized in MLW, and of course, a phone. So we don't know what this is all about. I'm sure Selena De Laurentiis is not going to like this, but this is going to be something that we're gonna see that's gonna shake MLW when the day comes. So we'll find out soon enough. Our next match, we have Matt Riddle. He teams up with Alex Kane to take on the World Titan Federation, Josh Bishop, and Tom Lawler. Now, you know this is going to be a pretty good match. I mean, a lot of suplexes, a, a lot of interesting maneuvers in this match. But it was, of course, Richard Holiday almost got himself involved, but thanks to Alex Kane, he picked up, well, it was Matt Riddle who picked up the win with the Super Broton, and it was over right from there, giving Kane and Riddle the win. I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Kane invites Matt Riddle to join the Bumaye Fight Club because I feel like those two can get along great. But there is one match we definitely got to see between those two is against each other, so that's something we could see down the line. Now, while that was happening, all hell broke loose in the backstage with the World Titan Federation being under attack by the Second Gear Crew. So this never-ending war will never continue. But however, Josh Bishop knocked down a referee, so that's bad news for them. So now our main event, we have Satoshi Kojima taking on Sammy Callahan. Well, Sammy claims that his whole thing that he loves Brett is a load of bull. But however, you cannot stop a man who's the first ever MLW World Heavyweight Champion. And of course, a guy we've seen, he has a great career in pro wrestling, and more specifically in Japanese pro wrestling. That is something you cannot overlook. But however, no matter what Callahan did, this Kojima refuses to stay down. But it was Kojima with a lariat that picked up the win, and that was pretty much it. But however, he does have his sights set on the MLW World Heavyweight Champion, and he could become a two-time World Champion. However, during the press conference, even though Alex Kane overheard that, he thinks that this whole thing with the bread is a load of crap, and he doesn't believe that everything comes out of Japan is 100% true. Well, don't insult someone's culture because you're gonna looking for trouble. So I think that's pretty much it right now with MLW. I believe it's time to move on with AEW Collision. Okay, our final review, AEW Collision. It opened up with John Moxley taking on Shane Taylor. Now, we know Shane Taylor is a big dude. We know he's the toughest SOB on the planet. But who's even more tougher is John Moxley. So the obvious question is, can Shane Taylor last long as he thinks he can against a guy who is out looking for a fight? Well, you can say that Shane put up a good fight, but however, it was John Moxley who had the better day when he applied a bulldog chokehold onto Shane Taylor. But however, Shane refuses to give up. But unfortunately, he passed out. Referee made the choice to lose. However, Moriarty seems he had that look in disappointment that he couldn't beat one of the toughest SOBs on the planet. But however, Moxley put the entire locker room on notice, telling him, step up. Now, our next open challenge match for Adam Copeland, we waited who it was going to be, and it turned out to be Dante Martin. I mean, it was a very interesting match. However, Dante Martin was able to capitalize every high flying move as possible to put down Adam Copeland. But what was impressive is that Adam Copeland applied a spear when Dante Martin was about to apply the nosedive, but it was, of course, his brand new move, the crossface, that ended the match right there for him to win. Now, during an interview with Lex Lanier, she interviews the BCC, Claudio Castagnoli, and Bryan Danielson. However, in their main event, they face against Eddie Kingston and Ortiz. However, Bryan Danielson, who is in disgust out of his own soul to see the Continental Crown in the hands of a guy like Eddie Kingston, who he feels is unworthy, who doesn't deserve to be champion. But however, Bryan Danielson and Claudio both lost to him in the tournament. But that says it all. Now, our next interview is Top Flight and Action Andretti. Basically, as you know, they were about to do their interview, but it was interrupted by Top Flight, a private party. But however, last time they faced off, it was a bit of a cheating, so they said they are down for another rematch. So we'll see where that leads us. I'm sure this is going to be a little bit more different than what we saw, but whatever. Now, our next match, we have La Mera Mera Thunder Rosa making her return, taking on the Queen Aminata. So I thought this was a very impressive match. However, I think Queen Aminata really did a very good showcasing in this match. I mean, I became a fan like maybe a year ago, but she was very impressive. I mean, she did put Thunder Rosa to the limit until Thunder Rosa applied the Tijuana bomb to pick up the win. And there's only a matter of time until Thunder Rosa makes her way straight to the AEW Women's title. Now, during an interview with Lex Lanier, she interviews Ortiz and Kingston as they are going to contend with BCC. Of course, there were some issues that Ortiz and Kingston had, but they were resolved because they are like family. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, Bullet Club Gold, as you know, they are the brand new ROH six-man tag team champions. And of course, they brought the cardboard. But later, you can say they were interrupted, but they were interjected into this promo, the Acclaim. Now, you can say you want to see this, but the real question is, can the Bullet Club Gold see it as well? But Anthony Bowens made some very good points. People want to see Daddy Ass win a singles gold. Of course, people would like to see both the Acclaim and the Guns with tag team gold. I mean, one could be the AEW World Tag Team Titles champs or the ROH, whatever they decide. But there was one thing that of course Jay White would agree upon is that people would like to see him be the AEW World Champion. I think that could have been the real reason, like saying the right. People want to see that. Let's give them what they want. And now the Bang Bang Scissor Gang is born. So we're going to see a pretty good, interesting unit. Now, Tony Storm, as you know, is not happy with the idea of Deonna Purrazzo making her way. She even admitted about her past, telling her how she was envious of her because of her technical skills. So they will confront each other from time to time, but however, they did announce that this there's going to be a face-to-face confrontation between those two this coming Wednesday. So we're looking forward to that. Our next match, we have Buddy Matthews along with the House of Black, Malachi and Brody getting ready. However, Daniel Garcia was added alone, but luckily he had backup. FTR was there to back him up no matter what. So you know that there was going to be some interference from the outside, but how luckily FTR were there to stop it. But no matter what was going on, things were going to get a little chaotic. But however, it was Daniel Garcia that was able to target the knees of Buddy Matthews. He even tried to disable them. It did pretty good. However, it was, of course, an unexpected jackknife by Daniel Garcia to pick up the win. However, this match turned into a brawl between both sides. Apparently, things got out of hand. Officials come out to try to interfere, try to stop it, but it was more like let them fight type of moment. However, during an interview in the back with Lexi, FTR, and Daniel Garcia, had it up to here with them. So they decided, let's end it next week in a cage. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to see. So I'm looking forward to that. Our next match, Roderick Strong versus Matt Sydal. Now we know that Strong is determined to become the AEW International Champion. So this is the best way to ensure he can get himself ready, prepared against Orange Cassidy. But however, it was the heartache that ended things for Roderick Strong to pick up the win. Now our next match, we have the BCC, Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castillo taking on Ortiz and Eddie Kingston. You know they were going to try to put a hurt on Eddie no matter what. But however, the biggest target was Ortiz, which is the close friend of Eddie Kingston. So what was going on is Bryan Danielson targeted him completely to send a message, which he did when he applied the Boost Psycho knee, and it was over. However, Bryan Danielson said that his title reign will come to an end, and he spit at his face. As you know, he is disgusted by Kingston winning the Continental Classic. So this is going to be a very interesting feud between them. So, as you know, I wouldn't be surprised because I don't know if Bryan Danielson has listened to Zack Sabre Jr., who wants a rematch because he did not beat him fair and square. So we'll see where this leads us from here on out. So I think that's pretty much it with AEW. And we're not going to have no news updates for today. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. Coming up, I haven't seen the much recent shows from Noah and All Japan. I'm sure I'll get those as soon as possible. But as of right now, I'm currently still working on the latest DWZ discussion, talking about All Japan, about their possible partnership with WWE, and what's been going on with All Japan with their talent making the decision to leave. So we'll get to that at some point. But for now, this is the plan it is, and if there's anything going to happen, I'll let you guys know when that day happens. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day.